Did you have an agenda? Well, what did it have on? Hey, Chris? Hey, you couldn't handle it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started, please. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Dean, Loreno,
Yeah.
Davis, Canulet, Smith, Smith, Bender.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to come. Before we get started, I'm going to say a couple of things. I had the opportunity to watch the last TU meeting, and I just want everybody to know everyone in this room will be treated respectfully on that side and this side. Anyone that doesn't will be asked to leave. Okay? Just want that understood. We're all in the same ball game. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing, and everybody respects everyone. Thank you. Please fill out a card if you wish to speak. That should be on both sides. And when you come up, it's 3 minutes. It's not 3.5 minutes. It's 3 minutes. Okay? Well, the purpose of this meeting is to discussion of Tammany utilities. We'll get started on that. But before we do, I'd like to touch on a few things. I think we've been looking at this for a long time, and I totally agree there's issues on both sides. And we're here to try to figure out and get them all solved. And I firmly believe that the only way we're going to accomplish that is to bring in a third party to come in to look at Tammany utilities, ask questions, but more importantly, also meet with you, the citizens in that area, and ask questions and get information also, so that they can take that information along with what they receive here from Tammany utilities and try to come back to us and say, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened, and therefore we can take action on it. Or they come back and say, hey, this did not happen. And then we wouldn't have to take action on it. Because right now I don't know the answer. But I'm trying to get to the answer, and I think we will get to the answer. But I think the only answer we'll be satisfied with, or the only answer I'll be satisfied with, is if it's a third party coming in and talking to us. And that's the road we're going down right now. So what I'd like to do, Ms. Gina, if you don't mind, I would like you to explain where we're at with the consultant, who the consultant is, how did you pick this consultant, what is the scope of the consultant's project, okay? And then I'll have just a few more questions, and I know a few other people on the council will. But you take your time, ma'am, and go right ahead. You might have to come sit up here.
Something that you and Ben aren't allowed to have. Okay,
Listen
would
to
you
that
like,
one, huh?
Oh, since he's retired.
He thinks he's a comedian.
He's got too much time on his hands. What's that,
Ye-
Chris?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
would you like me to go through all of the things that we've done since the last workshop?
No, ma'am, I just want you to go on the consultant, because that's the most important thing in this, okay?
Okay,
And then we'll go from there.
okay. Okay, we have contracted with Owen and White. Just a moment. They were chosen because they are not on our PPSL, which is our preferred professional services list. They are unassociated with St. Tammany Parish government and had never done work with us before. So they are also a professional firm out of engineering firm that specializes in water and sewer quality, and they are located in Baton Rouge. So that's how they were chosen. Let's see. Their review began on Thursday, May 13th, and should be complete within 90 days. Their scope of work in their contract, and I'm going to read right from the contract.
Yes, ma'am.
The goal of the study is to test and analyze, my glasses on. To test and analyze that TU is providing water that complies with the National Primary Drinking Water Standards and assessing any areas that TU may improve to provide the highest quality water to customers. It will include on-site inspections of facilities, review of field data, chlorine and ammonia results, review of additional field test data, HPC, nitrates, nitrites, ATP, and others, review of raw water data, review of chemical feed and chemical adjustments, review of flow metering and accuracy, review of chemical dosing and feed ratio of chlorine to ammonia, and review of TU's operational controls and sampling protocols, review of dead ends and flushing, review of TTHM and HAA5 results, and a review of nitrification control plan and action levels. And that's what the contract is for.
Okay. I have a couple of questions on that. Have they done any work specifically what we're looking for with this cross gates issue? In other words, have they specialized or went into a water company's area and focused on one issue to look at a potential problem or no potential problem?
That's what they specialize in. That's
Okay.
what I was told. They also have already contacted LDH and discussed with LDH any issues that they foresee within our system. They've also offered to meet with Councilman Smith, Mike Smith, and they've also offered to meet with several concerned people from Crossgates who have been frequent in contacting us and LDH with their concerns. So they've offered to meet with them. I don't know if those meetings have taken place yet. Not yet. But they've called you though. They've contacted you. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to stay right on that for a minute. My suggestion would be that rather than meeting with Mr. Wagaspat, that they would also have a general meeting of the people out here in the audience and have sort of a small community meeting so that they can hear everyone's concerns on this issue. And I would recommend that they do that.
I can ask them for that if they're
I
willing
would
to do
recommend
that.
that they would do that.
Okay. I
Thank you.
will ask them, but I do know that
Thank
they
you.
offered without us even asking for it.
Okay,
They
then
asked for names of several concerned citizens that they wanted to meet with 2 or 3 of them on site. So
I don't think
But
I don't think 2 or 3 is the correct number. Okay, it may be the correct number to go on site, but they should be able to sit in a room for a few hours or come in here and sit here, and we'll let them use it to do it.
Yes.
Okay. Are they specifically going to look at, and I'm only saying the 8-day period, it might be more or less, but are they going to focus on this 8-day period where we had this massive problem?
No.
Okay,
No, that's going into the past, and there's no way for them to get information from the past, and I think everybody accepts that fact. They are looking at our procedures, our water quality, our controls. They're looking at basically what is today and our systems and our operational standards.
Okay. Wouldn't it be possible for them to have some of the records that the public has and also that we have during that period of time that could be given to them for them to review?
Oh, absolutely. They're looking at all of our records. They have all of our records. We have all the documentation for them to
So
review.
they will be looking at the records for that 8-day period from the parish.
Yes.
But I think they need to also look from the records because there was some discrepancy, and that's what I said. I don't know what to believe, okay? And so I know those people out there have those records and are very concerned with that, and I think they should do that also. That's another recommendation.
I'm sure that they will take
Strongly
all of the
recommendation.
I'm sure they will take all the information that the citizens
Okay.
provide to them.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and I agree with everything that Chairman Lorino has stated. Ms. Gina, just a few things. Well, first of all, I like the fact that this company is experienced in the areas you mentioned. I like the fact that they have not done business with St. Tammany Parish government in the past, that we have no established relationship. Independence, I think, is important to everybody on this work group. I'm sure for you as well, and certainly for the citizens. One thing I would like to say, please, if you can, from your perspective, because you all are going to be dealing with them the most, we want them to do the things that we want them to do, okay? And I'm not building into your statement, I will ask them if they're willing to do that, okay? No, we're paying them, and we want them to do certain things. So as I put in my email to you, yeah, in the records in the past and so forth, I want to take a positive approach to my request for the consultant, and that is this. What we know is that we can't go undo whatever did occur in that week or week plus, prior to Holy Week and through Easter and a day or so beyond. However, as we all know from all of our careers, finding out what did occur or what likely occurred is the first leg of determining how to keep it from occurring again. I know as a businessman, I always wanted to find out what caused this to occur. And most of us in business or engineering, whatever field, that is extremely important. So I know whatever occurred, I can't undo. Secondly, the administration, depending upon what they do find out, then they may or may not have decisions to make with personnel. That's the administration's job, okay? But for me, I'd like to know what is all this information? What was the most likely things that occurred? Why are we having all these illnesses and so forth? In the sense of, and how do we keep that from potentially occurring again, okay? Because I have a strong concern. Our colleague, Mr. Jimmy Davis, and I said to him earlier, and I told the chairman, he made a profound statement at our last council meeting, which was, as an environmental engineer, which I know what his role is, when that many people say they're ill or have this, and this, they can't all be lying. So with that, not trying to lynch anybody, trying to find out what happened, how did it happen, how do we keep it from happening again if it did happen? So thank you very much.
I would like to say that
Yes, ma'am.
when I said that I will ask them, The reason why I'm saying I would ask them is because a community meeting is not part of the written contract that we signed with them at this point. There is room in the contract for us to add more tasks to their contract, but it would have to be agreed upon by both parties. So at this point, because it's not something that they've already agreed to, I will have to approach them with that request.
That's why I mentioned
So-
strongly recommend that.
Right. So
Okay.
I will approach them with it, but I can't, at this point, I can't force them to do something that's not in their contract. But I'll try to
That's
talk to them
fine.
about it,
Mr. Chairman,
And keep us updated on that if you don't mind, please.
of course.
could I ask add one more thing?
Yes, sir, if it only takes 1 second, but go ahead, Jeff.
2 seconds.
Okay.
Also, as a work group, I think it would be advantageous for us to be able to meet independently with the consultant, because we'll certainly have our own questions. I'd like to hear what their answers are directly to us, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's a good idea also, Ms. Hayes. Mr. Smith?
I'm great, we got the consultant in. I will say that I heard from a couple of people that they had reached out to have some one-on-one meetings, which I thought would be better. I thought that the process would be better served if we got several of the people who have really been bulldogging this issue together with the consultants, myself, maybe one or two other councilmen, and had a larger meeting, okay? I suggested that late last week to set it up for this week, and we decided to wait and see how the utilities work group went. But if they're willing to do that, I think that's a good idea. I think it would be better served having a critical mass of people rather than staggering it out and stringing it out one by one. I have personally not to disparage anyone, but I haven't heard from, I did not hear from anyone prior to their reaching out to these one or two people that they reached out to. So they had not reached out to me particularly. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's what it was. Okay?
I think their intention was to meet with 2 or 3 at the same time, but I think due to scheduling conflicts, they said they would be willing to have more than one meeting.
Okay.
But so
Okay.
I'm sure that won't be a problem.
Okay.
I think they would prefer to meet with everyone at once. I just think they didn't want to not speak to just one person if they were unavailable at a certain
Okay,
time.
okay. If this process is concluded without them looking in depth at this time period that we were talking about, I want to go back to the idea that the public faith in the operations of the TU system in conjunction the parish, because the parish is behind that, you know, we are responsible for the TU system, that I don't think a restoration of confidence would be possible. You know, so I think they pretty much kind of have to, really. You know, in order for people to have faith that it actually was a good faith effort by a third party, okay? I have some other questions, but I'm going to wait. They're different questions about TU, but yeah, I want to wait, and since we're just speaking about the consultant right now.
Thank you, Mike. Chris?
All right, thank you. So Gina, I guess what they're saying is what we want, what at least what I want is called a root analysis evaluation of the incident. So that's, Jimmy knows what I'm talking about when you do a root analysis of the incident. So that goes back step by step, looking at what happened. I know y'all probably don't do this now, but if we remain down the road, we also used to do process safety incidents, and we'll do process safety, reliability, and safety. So what you do is you take your equipment and you do root causes of possible worst things that can happen, and then you try to put in barriers to keep it from happening. So what this does, it trains our employees on specific incidents, and it also gives you written instructions on what to do if something does happen along them lines. So, along with, we'll get this investigation because we need to know what we did wrong and get it straight. But we used to do that every 3 years on our equipment at the refinery. You go, you pick a column out, you look at worst case scenario, fire, explosion, what can you do to prevent those from happening? And you put it in writing, you get recommendations. So sometimes you get new equipment, sometimes you don't. But it opens up the door for discussion and procedures to follow. The other thing is, I hear y'all talking about 90 days. You think, is it 40, is it possible to see if we can speed them up a little, like maybe 45 days or something? Because this is kind of important. I don't want it to slow down. If they're done before 90 days, I really would like them to get to us.
Well, let me answer that. And I understand what you're saying, Chris, but I'd rather get a nice qualified answer, okay? And they're the experts, and I think they may have mentioned 90 days. I wasn't involved in the contract negotiations, Ms. Hayes is, but to me, if we can get it in 90 days or 60 days, I don't know what their contract reads. So if it's 90 days, I'll be happy with 90 days, to be honest with you, but go ahead.
The contract is for 90 days or less. And
Okay,
they do
well,
not think
there you go.
they do not think it will take 90
Well,
days.
that
but they do
answers the
have
question.
90 days.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess my other question, would we be willing to put in a bonus or a benefit to get it done before 90 days? Just like we do on roads, sometimes, hey, you finish before this time, you get a bonus.
There was no bonus added to the contract, but
I know
but I do know they've already told us that they do not
Okay.
anticipate it's going to take anywhere near 90 days.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you, Chris. Jimmy?
Ms. Gina, do you know that with this consulting team, do they have a medical expert on the team or somebody that they can get information from in case Mr. Waggerspeck wants to go ahead and give out some information on the medical issues of the people that have been affected?
They do not have a medical expert on the team. The LDH has a contact, Rachel Berkheimer, who is the epidemiologist for the state.
And she's
She's
she
already
may be working
receiving
with
that.
them?
She's already receiving that
Great.
information. They're an independent office.
Okay,
from-
okay, thank you.
That's it, Jimmy?
Yeah. that's
Thank you, sir. Okay. Seeing no more questions on that. Mike, would you like to go into your questions, or would you like me to have some citizens come up for their 3 minutes?
Let's let the citizens cycle out in case anybody wants to leave, although they probably won't. I did have one other question
Yes, sir,
that
go
I meant
ahead.
to ask about the consultant, okay? At the end of this, I'm hoping that, and I'm sure they will, they're going to have some analysis of the strengths and weaknesses and limitations of our system. Would that be correct?
Yes, that will be in a written report.
Okay, thank you.
I took my chair. Must have been you. Chris, did you want to say something else? No, okay. No, I got all kind of names on there now, okay. All right, you did good, too. All right, you ready, dear? Oh, yeah, right. Mr. Stephen Leach, Steve.
Stephen Leach, 915 Cross Gates Boulevard.
Before you get going,
Sorry.
would you be related to the Steve
Yes, sir.
Leach in the maritime community?
Yes,
Or
sir.
are you the Steve Leach that I don't remember anymore?
I'm the son. We've spoken many
We-
times. You've
how-
been very helpful in the past.
Okay, and everything.
Every time.
Yes, sir.
I say I
Okay,
agree
so,
on every time
and
we've
how's
ever had
everybody,
an issue.
before we
Right.
get going, how's everybody doing?
So far, we're doing very well.
Good, okay.
Father's
Well,
doing
please
very well.
say hi. Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, yeah, my name is Stephen Leach. Mr. Chairman, the Louisiana Committee of Certification was created by Act 538 of 1972 of the Louisiana Legislature. It states, "A certification is a promise, a public trust in the holder of the document. The certification testifies to the fact that this operator has the qualifications, skill, knowledge, abilities, expertise, experience, training, and education to officially and with authorization to practice his or her chosen profession." Chapter 12 of the Sanitary Code, State of Louisiana Water Supplies states in 1203-2, says plant supervision and control. All public water supplies shall be under the supervision and control of a duly certified operator as per requirements of the State Operator Certification Act 538 of 1972, as amended, revised statute 1141 to 1151. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, certifications are offered in the following 5 categories: water distribution, water production, water treatment, wastewater collection, and wastewater treatment. Within those categories are the required levels of certification for an operator. Based on facility classification, they're as follows. For a population of less than 1,000 served, it's a Class 1. Population of 1,001 to 5,000 is Class 2. 5,001 to 25,000 is Class 3, and over 25,000 is Class 4. Mr. Chairman, with that being said, and that being the licensing law, I filed a complaint this past week against the Assistant Director of Tammany Utilities based on the fact that the position is required to supervise all aspects of parish government water and wastewater operations. This is per the job description provided Neil Wagersbach by Mrs. Gina Hayes. Following my complaint, Mr. Tom Walton of the Operator Certification Board informed me that Mrs. Cynthia Samuel is unlicensed in all categories, and he referred the matter to LDH Engineering Department for investigation. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to bring this to your attention as I believe this is a serious license law violation and it is a parish-wide issue that is paramount that the person who is in charge of managing, supervising, directing, and running Tammany Utilities is a licensed Class 4 operator in all categories that I outlined above. To violate this license law is to expose the entire parish to serious liability.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, and I agree with you if that's the case. Okay, so we're going to check on that for you probably by the time you get to sit down over there. But you had some time left? You got some time left? You can still talk to him. Oh,
I'm
you
just,
did.
I'm just saying I did it. That's all.
You got 3 seconds.
I'm always, where I'm supposed to be.
Once
Thank you.
again, thank you. Ms. Hayes, I think you listened to that, and that's a
Yeah.
very important concern for me if that's the case.
Yes.
Okay.
that-
You have the
he's-
floor.
He's correct. She is not a water operator. She's an administrator. She handles payroll, making sure that, the employees show up for work and who's on call. She's not a water operator. She doesn't handle dosing. She doesn't handle that. She's not an operator. So he's correct. She's not certified, but that's not her job.
Okay. I have some questions now. Okay. As you said, she is not that is not her job, a water operator.
Correct. She's not a water operator.
Was she in that position or doing that type of work when Mr. Leach made his statement to us just now?
No, she's never been a water operator.
How could that happen?
How could, it's not her job. It would be the equivalent of saying, I'm not a water operator. I'm not a water operator.
Okay.
She isn't either.
Okay.
She's an administrator.
Okay.
It's not part of her responsibilities.
Mr. Leach, would you come up on my time now? I paid very close attention to what you said, and I agree with you before you sat down.
Yes, sir.
And I just listened to Ms. Hayes. Now, could you explain to me how you figured out she was a water operator and not a administrator?
She is the supervisor of all the people that are doing that. And the question would be, is this the same position that Tim Brown had in the past?
No.
Yes, sir.
Let's
Yes.
answer my questions
Yes, sir.
first, okay? All right. So I'm gonna repeat myself. How did you come to finding out that she was a water operator?
She's not. I
Okay.
was informed by Mr. Tom Walton of the certification board. He
Okay,
responded to
okay,
me.
but I mean, how did you find out she was operating under the
Because-
assumption
because-
she was a water operator?
Because the job description provided by Ms. Hayes says to supervise all aspects of parish government water and wastewater operations.
Okay,
That's what it says.
okay,
Okay?
thank you. Ms. Hayes?
That's part of the summary, because she oversees the employees, the personnel. But when it lists all of her duties, none of it is regarding water operations. It's regarding personnel.
Okay, so actually, from what I'm listening to, both of you are correct. Her name.
He is correct. She is not a water operator.
Her name appears in the paragraph, we want to say, and it could be construed as a water operator, but you're saying that is not her title, and she did not function in that capacity.
Correct. That's not her title. It's not her, she's never functioned in that capacity. And in the requirements of the job, under education and qualifications, nowhere in there does it say anything about being a water operator.
Okay,
And she's not. He's
Yeah.
correct. She's not a water operator.
okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Lynch.
So my
You-
question
sure,
is,
sure.
is this the position that Tim Brown had previously?
Let me
Because this is not a new issue.
Okay,
3 years ago, we brought up that Greg Gordon was unlicensed,
Mm-hmm.
and Tim Brown did not have, well, I can tell you what he had.
gotcha.
He did not have, he had twos in water and nothing in wastewater.
Gotcha.
So
Is
this
that-
is an issue, again, this is the
Okay.
person who is under whoever's running the system.
Is that
That's
the
why I'm
case?
asking this
Is
question.
that
That's
the
why it
case?
came up again.
Yes, sir. Is that the case?
I wasn't here when Tim Brown was an
Okay,
assistant
but I
director.
mean, is she doing that position right now
No.
that Tim Brown had prior to that?
I don't know. I can't answer that because I don't know what position he held before I was here. I just don't know.
Okay.
I can tell you that she's never been a water operator. She wasn't hired to be a water operator.
Okay.
That's never been part of her job description.
Okay,
But
Okay.
as far as what he did prior to being director, I don't want to be untruthful. I
Okay.
just don't know.
okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Steve. Mike? Jerry?
I'm going to cede the floor to Jerry, but I'm going to speak.
All right, you want me to skip you for a second? Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, so, Ms. Gina, let's try to get to, I think, the point the chairman and Mr. Leach are trying to make and that we're concerned about, okay? So I've read Ms. Samuel's job description, okay? A job description is very important, okay? The person has to be able to meet the qualifications and the abilities as listed in that job description. And that job description put out by parish government is very lengthy. To limit that to, well, but that's not what she does, and this is nothing personal on Ms. Samuel. No, that to me, that's not a good answer, because you can't then later on say, well, it says she's got to supervise these people, but that's not what she does. She does billing. She makes sure that, hold 1 second, I'm gonna let you answer. She does billing. She makes sure they get paid, okay? But that job description goes into much more detail about her role as an assistant director and that role as a supervisor. Now, when Tim Brown goes on vacation, and he did go on vacation during this critical time frame, okay, that Mr. Canulet and all of us are talking about, Mr. Smith, then that assistant director role becomes critical, okay? So let me just say this real quick. So let's look at my history. So we'll just say the title so that people understand it better. As general manager of Louisiana and Mississippi, 30 years with the elevator company, okay, I did not have to be an elevator mechanic. That is a person who works on elevators. I did not work on elevators, so I didn't have to be the so-called water operator. However, I had very, very intense and specific duties that came in total contact with how we maintained elevators, how all of the customer's equipment was maintained, any upgrades that were required. I was over in that role everything. I had all responsibility for everything. I could say, well, I was responsible ultimately to make sure they got paid. That would be true. But I was also responsible for safety fully. I was responsible for the safety and health and welfare of the people who rode those elevators. If something happened and OSHA got involved, I'm the one that OSHA spoke with. Okay? So understand, I'm not concerned about her ability to be a water operator. I'm concerned about anybody's job description and their ability to fill that role, the bigger role. Okay? So thank you.
Ben, Ms. Hayes?
Okay. She's not the, first of all, she's not the only assistant director of Tammany Utilities and the Department of Environmental Services. She is one of two. The job description in nowhere requires her to be an operator. She's not the operator. The designated operator is Aaron Davis, who holds a Class 4. When Tim Brown is on vacation, she may step in as director. That stepping in as director would, at that point, she would make sure that Aaron Davis or another Class 4 operator is available. She would not then assume the duties any more than you would have assumed the duties of repairing an elevator. She would not step in and then decide how to dose the water. She would make sure that someone who knows how to dose the waters on staff and on the clock. That's her role. Her role is not to work as an operator when he's not there.
Okay.
Follow up after you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sure, Jerry. I understand Mr. Bender's and Mr. Leach's being able to confuse the situation if it's confused, okay? So my suggestion would be, I think we need to look at the job description going forward. That somebody said a little while ago, we can only do so far going back. But I think that's something I would strongly suggest that you look at, and I know you will, to where you can make sure that the wording in there specifically would say, and I listened to what you said, she is not qualified to do that, but she is qualified to make the phone call to call Jerry Bender, who is qualified to do it. That's her job. She's not the one making the call.
Correct.
Okay, in some way, shape, or form. Okay?
Correct.
I would suggest that, Jerry.
Thank you, Mike. And Ms. Gina, let me just add, though, okay? Sure. I agree with what the chairman said. But this is very, very important. And I think, I really believe all of my colleagues would agree with me on this, okay? It's this. I can only use my role, okay? While not an elevator mechanic, I had the training, I had the experience, I had the background, okay, to be able to, and the qualifications to assess the situation way beyond just making a phone call. I had the ability and the management training and background to be able to determine what is occurring, okay? If I'm the general manager, and what you just said is when Mr. Brown's on vacation, she becomes the director, okay?
One of the directors.
Well,
There's two.
Okay. Now, she moves from assistant director to director, is what you said, when he's on vacation. That's fair enough. Wait, I'm not trying to pick you apart. We have to get to a clear understanding of this, though. If she then becomes the key person, She has to have the ability to assess what is occurring, is all I'm saying. If she doesn't have that ability, it shouldn't be in her job description. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Mike?
Okay, this kind of, I'd like to bring Mr. Leach up for just a second. But I do want it, while he's coming up, okay, this is something I was going to ask later anyway, but, so, in the system total right now, how many Class 4 operators do we have?
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Tammany Utilities then.
I've been told it's 2, but I don't know that for sure either. So what class operator license do you have to do a BWA? Do you know that?
To do a
To
boil
do-
water?
Mhm.
I don't know that there are requirements that you have to meet. There are things that happen that would LDH would then require you to do a boil water advisory. I don't think it takes any class operator to make that determination. If the pressure drops below 20, then you have to do a boil water. If you have to turn the water off, you have, something like that. There are different issues that require a boil water advisory. There's also boil orders, those come from LDH.
Okay.
But the advisories, the Tammany Utilities would issue that. But I don't think it would require any specific class operator to make that determination.
But we have to have Class 4 operators to technically operate the system. And I would think to
Correct.
make evaluations as far as what the system can and can't do, or what it should and shouldn't do.
Right,
Okay.
how to regulate the system, Class 4
Okay.
operators, yes.
So Tim was on vacation for part of this time. It could easily have been COVID or something else that knocked one of them out. So if in fact we only have 2, okay, then that one person is stretched between east and west. And if there's a crisis in both sections, which we have had before, then we're understaffed, which kind of goes back to what I've been saying is we just don't have the resources to adequately to cover the system.
I don't know for a fact that we have only 2. We may have more than 2. I just
Okay.
don't know that.
Okay, if you could provide that for me at some point, I'll send you an email. If you could provide that, that would be very helpful.
I will
Thank you.
get that for you.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
then I'd like to ask Mr. Yates something, and I'd like to add one thing. He had a loss recently, so his mother, so I want to thank him for coming out tonight, okay, who also was a neighbor of mine. But she had a great life, and she lived to be 90, and she was a pistol.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring in something, I'm going to backtrack a little bit and just say that his is the house that had the variance that got cited. Okay, and I asked when people were concerned about possible cross-contamination after the force main break, that his house and some others, but specifically his house, be monitored. Okay, so we found the variance, okay, that there was a variance. Now, according to you, had nothing to do with cross-contamination. So if that variance was there, and there was a variance, it went up and down over several days, and then it was cited. Okay. So had they been monitoring your house prior to that on a regular basis that you know of?
No, they only checked 3 sites.
Okay,
Both
and that's
wells.
at the water wells, right?
Yeah, water wells and then at the school, at the MRT, at the end of the line.
And how far are you from the well?
Less than a quarter of a mile, I mean, very close. Measuring in 1,000
I'd
feet
say
or
it was
something.
less than a quarter of a mile.
Yes, it's close.
Okay, so
Very close.
it dropped down below acceptable levels, okay?
For
So
6
we don't
right,
really
for 6
know.
days, right.
We don't
had
really
no
know how
sanitation
long
for
you were
6
out of
days.
compliance, because no one,
Right.
if it wasn't cross-contamination, if it wasn't,
Right.
and it was something else that was causing the low levels, we don't really know how long you were out.
No, we know from Sunday night when we started all the way till
Right, but we don't know, it could have been.
Friday when Aaron Davis was there, and they still had zero. So we know at least that period of time.
And it could have been a problem that
Could have been-
existed prior. We don't
Correct.
really know because they weren't monitoring.
Right,
it.
we're not
Okay.
constantly monitoring.
But people in the neighborhood were reporting that, right? They were sending word in that they thought something was wrong, and you guys were using some of your own gauges and stuff to monitor your water systems, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, that's part of what they really need to look into. If it wasn't cross-contamination, then what caused that variation?
Correct.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Right, basically the disinfection on Friday the 2nd was disappearing. You had 2.7 at the well. When Aaron Davis went across the street to the Shell station, he had .23. Disinfection was disappearing. We have
Well,
no one from TU here. This
Gotcha.
is a matter of licensed operators, and there's no one here to even be able to respond.
gotcha. Well, Steve, and I know you will, that's something when you're talking to the consultants, that's very important information for them to compile also. And I know you all will, and I'm strongly suggesting that if that's the case. Okay? Thank you, sir. Andrew? Ogden? Andrew? Couldn't make out the last name there.
It was a good try. It's OJ.
How you doing, sir? I'm close.
My wife says it's like special French orange juice. So,
He's a pilot, he knows about special things.
well, this is my first time to a meeting like this.
Will you take your time, sir?
I just wanted to present some concerns that I have for my family. I live at 1406 Lake Village Boulevard in Crossgate Side, and for that time period that you guys are speaking of, and really before that, towards the middle to end of March into April, the entirety of my family had skin rashes, gastrointestinal issues, 5 doctor visits, an emergency room visit for my spouse. And so when I started to see some news articles online and with other residents complaining about similar issues, I became concerned that we were experiencing the same thing at my home. And I can't say for a fact that that's the case, but if it is, it's very concerning. And I would hope that you guys would continue to do your due diligence to work to resolve it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew, I'm sorry about that, but I can tell you, and once again, I'm going to say it again, the administration listened to Mr. Bender and myself and Mr. Smith when we asked for that third-party consultant to get down in there and try to get us that unbiased information, and that's what we're trying to do. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're slipping. Yeah, you can't multitask. Neil Wagspot. Neil? I'm sorry, Jerry. Jimmy?
Can I make a request, please?
Yes, sir.
Can I have Mr. Wagger's back come up?
I got him right here in my hand.
Oh, great. Never mind. Perfect timing then. Thank you.
He's a mind reader now.
You just got to give me time, Jimmy. I know everything. You don't have to jump out and feel embarrassed, okay? You don't have to jump out and feel embarrassed. Thank you.
So were you so anxious to hear what I was about to say that you wanted me to come up earlier, or did you have a question, or?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
All right. A myth on our system is due to constant pressure, nothing bad can happen. Sadly, it's a myth because there are no guarantees of constant pressure on our water system. It's a myth that both John Williams and Tim Brown hide behind on a regular basis to deny that anything ever happens bad on our water system. We, the residents, know this is not true and it's a lie. We have no water towers or storage capacity to apply constant pressure on our 10,000-person water system. We are at the mercy of a couple of ground-mounted pressurized tanks that are subject to mishap on a regular basis. Does the council know that on Easter, Mr. Brown instructed that the Steel Road well be shut down in order to pull twice the water through the Willowwood area to dilute contaminants? I doubt the council knows that. This was a direct action taken as a result of operator Aaron Davis being unable to hold a residual at the Shell station on East Gauze on Good Friday. As I mentioned in my 28-page operator complaint against Mr. Brown realized the contamination was so bad that they shut down the well and tried to dilute it. The Steel Road well normally runs year-round, but it was shut down on Easter and kept offline through April 14th until the sewer repair was complete. How did that action also impact our pressure when they shut the well down that day? Who knows? There are no pressure monitors on our system. Councilman, this was just recently verified on May 6th when a water main busted and Tim used a gauge at the well that dropped from 72 PSI to 39 PSI. He had no idea what the pressure was out in the subdivisions. Also, during the contamination week, Mr. John Brule with Washington St. Tammany verified that Washington St. Tammany lost power for 1 full hour on April 1st, Holy Thursday. How did that affect our pressure? Is the council also aware that Mr. John Williams of LDH clarified his on-the-record statement where he was quoted in the Times-Picayune New Orleans Advocate as to the valve? It turns out Mr. Williams took TU's word for the valve and cannot corroborate that at all. So he retracted and clarified his statement in writing. Of course, he's already misled the public by this point in his original statement. We have so many reports of loss of constant pressure both now and in years past, but Mr. Brown simply denies them and cannot offer any proof that they don't happen. John Williams hides behind this same myth, yet he too knows there is no data recorder in place that demonstrates constant pressure. We, the residents, know we do not have constant pressure. We have many residents who recently flushed their hot water heaters, and it's not what you find in a normal flush. It looks like the Mississippi River. It's that bad. Due to the water table being high and sewage pooling around our main during Holy Week, coupled with the loss of pressure, there was every opportunity for cross-contamination, and cross-contamination did occur. Mr. Chairman and members of the council, you heard the audio of Mr. Williams. What does he say in the audio? Does he say everything is fine, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Neil.
Yep, I got one sentence left.
Okay, go ahead.
At this point, John Williams has as much credibility as Tim Brown. Absolutely none.
Okay. Let me comment on a couple of things, Neil. First off, I live in Madisonville. We don't have a water tower either, so you're not the only area that does not have a water tower in St. Tammany Parish. Number two, everything that you're saying right now, as I mentioned to Mr. Leach there a minute ago, that needs to be, and I'm going to keep saying this, that needs to be presented. Okay, I'm listening to you, and I'm paying very close attention, but I'm not an expert, and that's what those people were hired to do, okay? And as I said, I look forward to their recommendation, as the members up here said, look forward to their recommendation. So I just wanted to say that, okay? Okay. Jimmy, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Mr. Wackersback.
Yes.
So basically, you're the spokesman for the area? Is that what you are? Because I've read all your emails, and they're excellent, to be honest.
I guess if you want to call me a spokesman.
No, I
I'll
mean,
be a
I like the
spokesman, but
information,
I'm
'cause-
an engineer like you, and
And I
so
like the
I'm-
information you give me, because that's
Yeah.
how we decipher things. My question is this, which I think we probably should have asked before. How's everybody doing? Are we still sick?
I don't know. I mean, there's a
is
number of
everybody
people.
getting better, I hope?
I mean,
What's the condition of everybody?
Hey, Jimmy, let's kind of state it,
Yep.
Neil.
Okay, well, I'm just wondering,
my family personally, I mean, we're a little bit further away from the well, so we have a lot of the skin rashes and other issues cropping up from time to time. We weren't as directly affected as some of the other residents
Right.
by, the contamination and the gastrointestinal stuff. And there have been occasions where my pets and family has been really sick from, misapplying chemicals and whatnot in the water. But in this particular instance over Easter, that wasn't the case for my family, thankfully. And we don't consume it anymore anyway. So we've been on Kentwood for probably 4 years now.
Just a question that may assist even our consultants here. I mean, it'd be nice to have a list of the people that got sick.
Agree.
And then from that, of course, we can't do HIPAA rule. We got HIPAA rules. You can't tell us what they are, but you could kind of give us a tendency about what exactly sicknesses they did have and inform that to the consultants, and then that way they might be able to help it,
Well, based on your comments at the council meeting on the 6th, I had actually reached out to some of the residents. I mean, there's notably some privacy issues
Sure.
in play, and I know a lot of residents really don't feel comfortable sharing that type of information. So I was trying to see if I could do what you had mentioned in the council meeting, which was basically build a map,
Yeah.
just showing pinpoints on the
Right.
map so that we could kind of maybe draw a correlation or find, to use Mr. Canulet's phrase, a root cause analysis of, this is the area that was most affected, and we could kind of work backwards to the most probable cause. But, unfortunately, it's just been, as a resident, it's hard for me to get that kind of information.
I understand. And, no, I understand that a lot with, because some people just don't want to tell you if they are
Exactly.
feeling bad, and I agree with that. Okay, well, that's really all I have. I just want to know if everybody's getting better. I mean, that's my biggest concern are we getting any better? I mean,
My family, the skin rashes have gone down, but it's been, to be honest with you, over the last 4 or 5 years, it's a cycle. It's where my particular family's symptoms and experiences. My wife suffers very badly from, she'll go take a bath and she'll literally get out of the bathtub, go lay down in bed right at the end of her day, and literally will start itching so bad that need to put cream, take Benadryl or something, just to ease the itching enough so that she can actually go to sleep that night. It's so bad it keeps her up. I've personally experienced that a long time ago, but that was before I was able to correlate that with the water. So I mean, that's really so far in the past that it's not really applicable. I did have a couple questions, which maybe I can send to Miss Gina about the scope of work for Owens.
Here's the way we're going to handle that. The parish is in control of that, but she will definitely welcome your emails. I know her very well, okay, and we'll figure it out. But you will not be driving a train, as this council will not be driving a train, nor will the administration be driving a train. That is an independent company that we want, an independent, but we want all the information that we can get from you all, okay?
Yep. Happy
All
to
right.
provide it.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
and thank you.
David? I'm doing fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Before I speak my 3 minutes, is there any way I could address what Mr. Davis just asked? Because I've got something very important that I sent to Ms. Hayes this week that I think would help y'all as far as his question.
As far as what, sir?
As far as his question as to the illness.
Oh, okay.
Two years ago, so to make a distinction, Mr. Davis, 2 years ago, Owens and White was actually issued a preliminary contract by St. Tammany Parish government. I sent it to Ms. Gina this week, okay? It was a $30,000 purchase order. What it was for, she sent me a reply and she told me that, and she underlined it did not happen. Essentially, what was supposed to happen didn't happen. And then she said it will happen this time. But what I wanted you to know in regard to that is that these skin problems have been an ongoing thing. 2 years ago, Owens and White was issued this $30,000 PO from Tim Brown's group to look at the skin problem issue. So this illness issue is not a new issue. There's that already in the record, which I think Ms. Hayes will agree with. The contamination event brought like a separate issue to the table. So I wanted you to know that while I actually know there are people in this audience who have not fully recovered from the contamination event, the majority of them I would say have. But separate from that is you do have this ongoing skin problem where these people get these rashes and so forth, and it's currently ongoing just as well as it was 2 years ago. So I wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you. As I said, that's something to give to the consultants.
Sure.
There's nothing we can do with that.
Mr. Chairman, since the April 12th Utility Work Group meeting, I've heard from countless additional residents in Turtle Creek, the Landings, Willowwood, Cross Gates, the Bluffs, and Autumn Lakes. Their stories, photographs, and videos they have shared with me are all very concerning. It got me to thinking about the entirety of this whole situation, so I posed the following questions for the record. Number one, did LDH consider the implications, positive or negative, of a high groundwater pH of 9.2 when John Williams decided to issue a no objection chloramine permit in 2018 to TU? How does this high pH affect the disinfection properties of monochloramines? Number two, did LDH consider the implications of the fact that both adjacent Lake Village and Quail Ridge run free chlorine, not chloramines, thereby making the CC listed in the Drinking Water Watch database problematic as to its emergency use? Number three, did LDH look at the tank pump size and the required 30-minute contact time required by the sanitary code as to the first home requirement on the water distribution system? Number four, did LDH look at the generator situation or lack thereof at Steel Road as to emergency power situation at our water wells and how it responds or doesn't respond during power loss events and its effects on pressure loss? Number five, does LDH regularly monitor as to whether our water system is being directed by licensed personnel? And then these remaining questions are directed towards TU. Does TU plan to smoke test or video test and inspect the sewer system to learn of areas of concern where the sewer system is compromised? Before I left just now, I took a video of an overflowing sewer in Crossgates. We had many overflowing sewage manholes in Crossgates today.
After the rain?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We did have heavy flooding today, sir.
Right, I know.
Does TU plan to install SCADA? Does TU plan to install any form of pressure monitoring in the distribution system? Does TU plan to implement a regularly scheduled flushing program? Does TU plan to implement a cross-connection device control plan to reduce the risk of backflow? Does TU plan to regularly use the SO1000 to document residuals in real time via a public web database for public viewing? Does TU plan to run ATP nitrate testing on a regular basis as opposed to running the minimums only? Does TU plan to map out all the water mains and implement a lockout tagout program? Does TU plan to issue guidance as to their protocols as to how they make the decision to issue a precautionary boil water advisory or not? With the continuing ongoing skin complaints, along with the loss of chlorine incident of May 3rd and broken water main incident of May 6th, is TU still considering system-wide remediation, or has that option of remediation been ruled out? And lastly, does TU plan to dose the wells as indicated in the letter by Parish Engineer Jay Watson dated December 12, 2017, where he indicates the dosing will be pre-tank total residual at Steel Road of 2.7 parts per million and a pre-tank total residual of 3.0 at Willowwood, 3 parts per million? Or does TU plan to continue to miscalculate in dosing their wells, as is indicated by the graphs Mr. Brown just provided us dated March 20th, 2021 through April 30th, 2021. I recently sent these graphs to Ms. Hayes to show her just how severely the wells are being mismanaged.
Okay. All right, thank you, David.
Yes, sir.
Let me
Thank
answer
you.
a couple.
Sure.
Yes, sir. The first few questions you had, I'm going to go back to what I keep saying. I keep saying it for a reason. That is very good questions that all need to be directed to the consultant.
Okay.
And why I say that, they can then put in their report, does TU need to do this, this, and this? Okay, you're going to give them that question. They can look at it. They're the experts, and then we don't get this side or that side. We get the consultant side.
Sure.
So everything that you just said, if I'm sure they're going to contact you, but if they don't, Mr. Wagaspack's going to put a lot of things together. I would walk over there and give him that little piece of paper, and that's how those. If I was Ms. Hayes, I would not answer those questions right now, because that's why we have the consultant getting ready to do their work, and that's questions for them.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
I thank you very
Thank you,
much,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith?
Okay, I want to go to a couple of those things. I don't want to address each and every one of those ideas, but these are things that we had talked about earlier prior to the consultants coming in, and things that had been agreed upon. Okay, and that goes to the SCADA, putting the SCADA on the wells, using the SL1000s and posting the numbers. So where are we on that?
The SCADA system, let me pull up. I had everything listed today that I was going to go over, but I can skip through it.
Well, I don't have any, does anyone have any objection to her reading what they've actually done, or?
I'm sorry, Mike?
Does anyone have an objection to her reading what they've actually?
Oh, no,
Okay.
no.
Do you
I
wanna
just
do
don't
that?
want her
Do you
to
wanna
get
do
in.
that, Jana?
I
You wanna
don't
read
think
through
she
your
should
words?
get into questions that she does not have information on.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so I'll just read a list. Some of these things were mentioned at the council meeting, so you'll hear
Can
them
you all
again.
hear her out there? Oh, okay, I just want to make sure, okay.
Some of these were already mentioned at the council meeting. Some of these, some things I've added additional information and additional details to. So some of it will sound like a repeat if you were at the council meeting. Okay, we continue to do everything we can to address the concerns of the citizens of Crossgates. Below is a list of things we have done and are continuing to do to further optimize and enhance our operations. On April 16th, 2021, we met with a consultant expert, Bill Travis, with Thornton, Musso, and Bellarmine, who is familiar with our system and has provided us with some suggestions. Both wells now run on a daily basis in order to increase our ability to stabilize chlorine levels. On May 2nd, we instituted a new policy into our standard operating procedures to include a lockout-tagout system. Just a second. Sorry. Lockout-tagout system on valves to ensure that no valves are inadvertently left in the closed position. We are in the process of installing an improved notification system. This SCADA system will alert for pressure, total chlorine, pump run time, and the chlorine tank level. This system should be completely operational within the next week. The system will be monitored by both Tammany Utilities and TMB. We have continued our normal testing and the increased testing that we recently started just for Crossgates. All of these tests have come back good. A total of 41 bacteriological samples collected in the month of April came back clear of coliform, E. coli, and other bacteriological contaminants. On April 22nd, operators did 4 hours of continuing education units of training. On April 26th, Tim Brown and I had a Zoom call with Dr. Joseph Cantor, the State Health Officer, Dr. Gina Lagarde, Region 9 Office of Public Health, Teresa Sokol, MPH from Infectious Disease Surveillance, John Williams, PE, Deputy Chief Engineer of Field Operations, Districts 1 and 2, and Rachel Berkheimer, MPH, Public Health Epidemiologist. On the call, we inquired if there were any waterborne pathogens or bacteria of any kind for which we have not yet tested or for which we should begin testing. The answer was no. They then confirmed that no common source of infection for the reported illnesses was identified. I requested that in writing and have a copy of that letter from Dr. Cantor. On April 27th, Tim Brown, Todd Tarragano took Councilman Canulette on a tour of the Steel Road Well, Willowwood Well, and the St. Luke Lift Station. On April 29th, TMB collected samples from the well and Farpoint, from both wells and the Farpoint to compare against samples collected by TU earlier that morning. From the TMB report, the results are not only consistent between the two events, but they also show good control of disinfection at the point of entry of both wells. This is reflected by the excellent residual at the MRT. On April 30th, 2021, we replaced 2 mesh screens as requested by LDH. On May 4th, we repaired a leaky check valve at the Willowwood well site. On May 5th, President Cooper, Tim Brown, and I met with representatives from Infomark to discuss options for the operation and management of TU. On May 5th, TU administrative staff received web page training in order to post analytical data and graphs to the TU web page. On May 6th, operators did another 4 hours of continuing education credits for training. On May 13th, we installed a new flow meter at the Steel Road well. We are in the process of installing a new flow meter at the Willowwood well just as an upgrade. We have contracted with an independent consultant, Owen & White, to review our Crossgate system and its operations. The review began on Thursday, May 13th, 2021, and should be complete within 90 days. We will be separating environmental services from Tammany Utilities so that Tammany Utilities can focus completely on the running of a utility company. Sure.
Prior to COVID, members of the council had met with Mike Cooper, President Cooper, about possibly contracting or selling the system. And they started to move on inventorying and assessing the value of the system, and then COVID brought that to a halt. So are we back on the path to that, to at least looking into that?
We are on the path to looking into those options. There were two separate valuation procedures that needed to take place. We are finishing up the first part, and then we'll start the second part. I don't have more details on that for you tonight.
Okay, and then I do want to follow up with one more thing, and then I'll, I had several people ask for remediation, or what they call a chlorine burn, to restore people's faith, at least, that we flushed everything out of the system. You know, anything that might be lurking in their pipes or houses, or anything that might be lurking in our system. I know it's not as easy as flipping a light switch, but, and I know that there are some technical challenges, but I also know that it's not impossible to do, and it actually is done on a regular basis. So was there consideration for that?
Okay, so I asked that question of several people, Tim Brown, John Williams, and Jacob Hafner. I received, well, I'll put it to you this way. This is what I presented to them, and I asked them to please tell me if I'm incorrect in any of these statements, or if anything here is not 100% correct. I did hear back from Tim Brown. I have not heard back from John Williams yet, but this is from what I understand when I posed that question to them. The reason for the request would be to ensure that any possible contaminants that could have possibly entered the system on Holy Week would be eliminated. That's my understanding of why they wanted this switch to free chlorine, or chlorine burn, whichever you want to call it. A battery of testing for E. coli and coliform was done since Holy Week that have all come back clear, a total of 41. So there would be no reason for that switch, for that chlorine burn, because if they're concerned about what happened during Holy Week, we've had 41 bacteriological tests for coliform and E. coli since then, and they've all come back clear. We nor our consultant, Bill Travis, see any nitrification in our system. Switching could cause the following issues: possible temporary taste and color issues, an increase in disinfection byproducts, TTHMs and HAA5s, which could impact our compliance for DBPs. It would require LDH notification and approval and prior public notice. It would cause TU to exceed the maximum contaminant limit for 12.5 bleach. And since our system is not finding it difficult to achieve targeted residuals and perimeters, doing a switch or a burn would not be advisable.
Thank you, Matt. Gina, on that burn issue, could you maybe ask, I understand what they put and I'll listen to you, but that's not my expertise. But anyway.
Mine either.
Okay, could you maybe ask them, or maybe you have, and explain to them the reason for doing this and seeing if it's worthwhile doing?
That was my question. My question to them was the way I understood it was the reason why it was requested of us to do the chlorine burn or the switch was to ensure that anything that was in the system from Holy Week would be cleared out. The way it was explained to me was that 41 tests for E. coli and coliform have already been done since Holy Week.
So they feel like that's not the case.
They feel that there's nothing in the water to burn.
Okay, and I can understand. I have one other question about that. I'll listen to you. And the best news that I heard out of that was the separation of TU and environmental services. I want to say thank you, and also President Cooper, because we tried that for a number of years prior to this administration coming in, and we always had a reason not to do it. And so that is a very important thing, and I just want to say thank you where thank yous due, okay? Nate Welch? Nate?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you.
Good, good. I just literally wanted to come up here as a representative. My family's owned Cross Skates for a long time, the fitness center, and really just hearing a lot of the community come out and speak on this. We've gone through a rash of different things that that everyone's bringing up, and so I really just wanted to come in support of that. Obviously, just dealing with the BWAs, and Councilman Smith's been keeping me informed of those things, but we certainly we service tens of thousands of people coming through on a regular basis, and so it's just mattered to us that this was being handled at the highest level with the greatest amount of integrity. So this is my first time to enter into this meeting, but really just wanted to come and represent Cross Skates as a whole.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time
Yep.
and appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Nice meeting you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask him a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Welsh, I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand, or I don't misconstrue what you said. I know you're here, and we appreciate you coming, okay? I know your dad, good man. I hope he thinks he's got a good councilman.
Yeah.
He lives in Oak Harbor.
Yes, he does.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Were you saying that you're here to represent, of course, our efforts? Or are you saying that have y'all seen any issues at your fitness facility? I'm not sure what you were saying.
We have seen, I wouldn't say I nearly have prepared enough information to go back and say, these are all the documented issues, but we suffer from the boil advisories every time they come out. We have been, obviously we've had people, physicians say that the water at Cross Skates is causing rashes on swim team participants and other people that use the pools ongoing, which a pool is a different thing than drinking water, right? We treat the water post it coming out from Tammany Utilities, but we have had people make those kind of claims at the fitness center specifically. So we've obviously we take great care in making sure the water's safe to swim in. So there's too many variables to know 100% if that's the cause in that scenario, but we haven't had any direct links that we know of, other than just the comments that the patrons make.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Miss Allison?
I need just a second. My hearing aids come off when I take my mask off. Sorry. I just wanted to take a second and I was really nervous the last time I spoke.
Just pull that down a little bit for you, dear. Take
that
your
a short
time.
joke?
You just take your time, dear.
I just wanted to clarify a few things from the last time and add a little bit. Back in 2018, when we were switching from free chlorine to a chloramine system, my 3-year-old at the time started bleeding under the eyes and behind the knees. We fought this for almost a year. We saw every kind of dermatologist, immunologist, pediatrician, everything you could think of, tried every cream. We finally installed an HE charcoal filter on our house, and it took 3 days for that rash to go completely away after a year of bleeding every day. We asked that's my youngest son. My oldest son and myself are the one with the big immune system issues. So we asked at the time our immunologist, our pulmonologist, and our gastroenterologist if we needed to add UV light to our filter. They said no. They thought everything was okay, that, the way water systems are treated, it should be fine. Well, after this incident, specifically when the chlorine tank, the bleach tank ran out at the Steel Road well, my doctors waved a white flag, and my husband and I did too. And so we had to incur thousands of dollars out of our own bank account to add an ultra filter, which filters out 0.2 microns, and a UV light to our system, because my family cannot run the risk of a pathogen affecting myself or my son again. So I just wanted to clarify, some of the things I had said. We pay, I think my bill for TU's about $105 to $112 a month. I pay $95 a month to Culligan, and I just came out of pocket a couple of grand to just make sure my family was safe. That came out of my kids' college fund because we weren't sleeping at night, and our doctors were no longer comfortable. I know that when the bleach tank ran out, allegedly all the numbers were okay and it was caught in time. But what if next time it wasn't caught? And that scares the heck out of us. And there's a lot of other families that can't afford to put in what my family, did. And I feel for them. We are truly uncomfortable, and we don't know what else to do. I mean, my family's done all that we can other than move. We don't want to move. We love our neighborhood. So I just wanted to clarify a few things.
Well, thank you, and let me say it again. We are going to do the very best, and we're going to try to figure this out and get it fixed one time and move it on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Paulette? Paulette? McNulty?
Hi, how are you?
How you doing, ma'am?
I used to live in Jerry's.
Oh, I can't help you for that. I'm
Precinct.
glad you moved.
Used to live in Westchester over there. Guys, I've never been to one of these meetings, and I've not spoken. I'm not a speaker. I am one of those people that have went out and bought a pressure gauge and put it on my house because there is a lack of transparency from TU. I think that's the biggest thing that everyone is complaining about. There's not a transparency. Tim Brown reports to himself. I wish I could report to myself at my job. That's just not something that happens everywhere. The findings need to be posted. Boil water advisories need to be called. I know they're a pain in the butt, but when you have a sewage leak and you're not sure, and tests were not done for 9, 10, 12 days till after that, how do you know that that was not contaminated in those days? Because the bacteria and chloroforms and stuff were not tested when it happened. They were not tested for days, if not more than a week. You're putting people's lives in danger. It's not fair to the people that pay your salaries. It's not fair for me to pay a water bill and have to boil water and buy bottled water and then still itch and have issues. Everyone's afraid to drink the water out there. And we don't live in a third world country. We live in Slidell, Louisiana, St. Tammany Parish. We need good drinking water. We need something we feel safe bathing in. I don't know that I'm going to allow my grandchildren to swim in my pool this summer. That shouldn't happen at all. I'm glad we're getting a third party in here, but it should have been done a long time ago. We've had these issues for quite some time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Mike, you wanted to say something?
That was for Mr. Welch. I wanted to encourage him that if he does have people who are complaining, particularly maybe not much people in the pool, but people working out, if they're having problems with the water, email me and let me know. And then it's a personal plug, strictly commercial, great place to work out, and a great corporate neighbor. They're really easy to work with, and they try really hard to keep people happy in the area. And when he says tens of thousands of people go there every week, or every month, that's true. Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't see you on there when he was there. Adam Johnson? Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
How we doing?
I'm fine, sir.
I'm Adam Johnson, 325 Quill Court. I actually did not prepare anything today. However, this Tammany Utilities Work Group meeting, I find it very odd that no one from Tammany Utilities is here. That's it.
Thank you.
That should be noted. That should very well be noted, that Tim Brown,
Okay, okay. I
It was made
understand.
comment last time that Tim Brown was going to be at these meetings. I respect you, I understand what you're doing, but you don't work for Tammany Utilities East or West. You work for St. Tammany Parish. The people running our system
Okay,
should
so
be hearing from
address
us.
me.
Excuse me, yes.
Okay, you want to talk to somebody? Talk to me.
I'll talk to you.
Okay.
So the people that are at this meeting came here to address Tammany Utilities East, maybe possibly some Tammany Utilities West, and no one is here. Why is that? How is that allowed?
Okay.
So that's what I wanted to make
Let
mention.
me answer your question.
Sure.
Okay. We called a meeting to discuss Tammany Utilities, okay? And this council is here to discuss Tammany Utilities.
Yes, sir.
And anything that comes up that cannot be answered by Ms. Gina Hayes, there's a young lady sitting down there at the end that is taking all the notes, and those questions will be brought up.
Mhm.
Now, to answer your question, because I don't lie,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer why Mr. Tim Brown's not here right now. But I can promise you one thing, I'll know that by the time I end this meeting,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ashley, Miss Ashley? And you can be the proud last one at
Oh,
this
geez, save the
meeting,
best for
ma'am.
last.
How's that? So you take your time, you can even have a few extra minutes if
Okay,
you
well,
want.
I don't need too long. I'm a concerned citizen of
Yes, ma'am,
Cross
go ahead,
Gates.
go ahead.
I'm worried for my family, my neighbors, my friend here also lives in Cross Gates. I was sickened by it, my children, my neighbors. My neighbor's still sick, I'm still sick. I now can't drink the water. I've lost trust in Tammany Utilities. I would like to have that trust back, and I hope that y'all would fight for that. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Let me answer your question. Everyone sitting up here takes everything that's being said out there very serious. I know everyone that's sitting here, and I know the lady that's sitting there at the table, okay? And yes, that's exactly what I want. I want you all to be able to turn your fire. I have Tammany Utilities, but I live on the other side of the parish. And yes, I get brown water, but I have not had the issues that you have, and I would not want them. And that's why we're trying to figure a way to do that. And I said it in the beginning, and I'm going to say it again. The only way you are going to have confidence in the system is if you see an independent person that comes in that is a main engineering company and puts their name on the bottom of a piece of paper that says this, 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 and this, because they will not do that because St. Tammany Parish paid them $100,000. I don't know what the number is. If they paid them they will not do that because their recommendation, their responsibility, their liability, everything is on the line for them, not for me, not for Miss Hayes, and not for you. It's on the line for them. So I'm hoping when we get that we can correct whatever needs to be corrected and move this thing forward. And who knows, we may end up by selling it to somebody, but if we do, I hate to tell you, the rates will go up, but you'll feel much better.
I'd rather pay more.
And that's exactly what I said.
And to know that my family's
Yes,
safe,
ma'am.
because I'm still suffering with
I
issues
to-
medically that I
to-
shouldn't have to suffer.
No, ma'am, and I totally agree. So that's where we at with this right now. But
Thank you.
But
I
no, but I
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the last one card that we have. I said in the beginning, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to let the process run, okay? Because there's really no need to come every week, every month, and sit here and say this, this, and this. Let's let the process run. I can promise you, as soon as we get that information, we will have a meeting, we will go through it, and everybody will be notified. I want you all to do me a favor. If for some reason that you feel like you are not being contacted by this consulting group, you are not having a voice in this consulting group, you can find my email on there, and please contact me. And I will personally, as everyone else up here, and I know Mr. Smith, Councilman Smith will do. But that is the best way to handle this situation as I see it today. We're not going to make any changes tomorrow, or we're not going to make any changes next month. It's impossible. And I can only say I'm sorry for that, but I don't have any other choice. So let's allow this to happen and move it forward. We'll reconvene as soon as I get that information, and we will go over it, and I look forward to your comments on everything that we have there. Mr. Canulet.
I'll speak loud enough. So, moving forward, what we were gonna commit to y'all, if something happens, another incident happens, we will
that's
meet
different.
again.
Yeah.
Okay? We will meet again if something
Yeah.
happens or comes up. So, but if everything, like Mike says, stays like it's kind of on track, it'll just be kind of repeating what we're saying. But y'all please stay vigilant, and if something comes up, let us know, and then Mike and Mr. Smith will call another meeting, and we'll address it immediately. Okay?
Yeah.
Can I ask for one request from Ms. Gina?
You can ask me for a request.
Or I can ask you one, that's fine. Ms. Gina spoke about many upgrades at Tammany Utilities. Mr. Chairman, Ms. Gina spoke about many of the upgrades
Yes, sir.
just a little while ago that Tammany Utilities was doing. She talked about SCADA, she talked about a number of other upgrades and improvements that were being made. What I would ask is that, Mr. Brown on the last utility work group meeting mentioned transparency. And what I would like through this process as a resident, and I think it would be helpful to restore that trust, is if all of these upgrades are being made, they're all good things. They're all needed. We can sit here and say back and forth that, yes, they should have been done sooner or not, but we are what we are right now. And what I would like to see is from Tammany Utilities, as things are being upgraded, make us aware of it. Do a publication, a press release or something. Show us some pictures. Show us that there is actual things being installed and upgrades being made, because to be honest with you, in 2018, we were made a lot of promises. We were promised a lot of upgrades. Some of it might have happened, some of the stuff didn't, but ultimately, there is a real concern among the residents that the upgrades that we're talking about, once the pressure dies down and the residents kind of go back to their homes and whatnot, that these upgrades won't really be affected. So we'd like to see it.
Okay, let me answer your question. I know Mr. Hayes will do that, number one. So absolutely, and I can promise you, they're not going to die down until I read on a piece of paper that this situation is taken care of, okay?
Great.
Now that you can go to the bank on. Now, I'm going to ask you a favor.
Sure.
And I don't know who it was, who it might be, or who it is, and it doesn't matter to me. But when our employees go out there to go to work, Tammany Utilities, they have a problem when someone's filming right behind them, asking them for information and things like that. And quite frankly, they don't want to go out there. Okay?
Okay.
All right? I would ask that you give us a little bit of time, and that you, if it's not, whoever's out there in the audience, okay, they can come up there and fuss at me, it doesn't matter. But give us a little bit of time also on this, okay? So we can let the employees go out there, do what they're trying to do now, and we do what we're trying to do, and we all get in this boat together, and we all come out. But I'm going to say it again, Neil. I am not letting this go until I see it. And just because I'm not having a meeting, that doesn't mean that I'm not, as Councilman Canulet said, if something pops up, we'll have a meeting even before the month, okay? So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Great, I appreciate it, thank you.
And I thank you.
Yes, sir.
No, sir, this Mr. Bender has the floor.
Now, everybody's wondering, am I going to ask the other Mr. Bender a question?
Well, no, you're not. You're going to ask me to ask him a question.
No. I do want to say this. I think we all appreciate everyone that came out this evening. I know how far you are from this council chambers. We have to be somewhere in the parish, and it's here. So we do, I believe every councilman up here and Ms. Hayes appreciates the fact that this is so important, and it is, that everyone has taken the time to come out, okay? The other thing I want to say is, and I hope that you all agree, I believe this meeting went very well. I do. I think I'm very proud of the people who are here for being polite. I say that every time that I've seen people from this organization. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the way the chairman conducted the meeting. And I appreciate Ms. Hayes and everyone else's questions. I do want to say this. The thing that I like the most is, because something was said at the end of the last council meeting, and the highest ranking member of the administration, I'll just leave it at that, the parish president, okay, made a comment, and look, we all make comments, but it was aimed at Mr. Wagaspack, I believe, which is your allegations are unsubstantiated. And anyone that was here will remember my comment back was, and your proof is unsubstantiated. Well, here's the thing. The good news is, putting comments aside, we're at the consultant stage. And it is a third-party independent. I think that's been made crystal clear. Therefore, we can get past allegations and substantiation and so forth. Please let the consultants, as Mr. Lorino has said, please let them know everything that you're able to let them know, obviously HIPAA. I know a lot of people are buying bottled water. Our main focus is on drinking the water, bathing in the water. I know that's y'all's main focus too. But don't think that we don't understand that this is a tremendous out-of-pocket expense. And we want to get that resolved too, because we want your money to go into things that you shouldn't have to drink unless you want to, if that's your preference, okay? So I just want to thank everybody, Mr. Chairman and my colleagues. I think it was a productive meeting, and I hope you all agree.
Thank you, Jerry, and I know that's very hard for you to tell me that I did a good job. You know?
What's that?
I know that's very hard for you to tell me I did a good job. You know? But thank you. David, you're a fast, you just stand right there and yell, so it's not going to take that long.
Okay. So there's one important thing, though, that if we leave this meeting without looking at it, the problem just starts again tomorrow, which is what I would like to get stopped, which is, I couldn't go into it too much because I only have 3 minutes, but I sent it to Ms. Hayes this week, and I would ask you guys to go look at it. If you go on TU's website right now, Mr. Tim Brown posted a graph. It's from March 20th.
I saw it.
Okay. And it looks like a roller coaster.
Looks like the stock market.
Right. And when you look at Jay Watson's letter, it says for the permit, you have to dose it at 2.7 at Steel Road, and you have to dose it at 3 at Willowwood. So it should be a straight line for both of them. And it can be a straight line, but they have to dose the wells properly. So if tomorrow, even though we gotta wait these 90 days and so forth, and I understand that, but if tomorrow they don't dose the well at 3 and they don't dose it at 2.7, there's gonna be complaints of skin rashes starting tomorrow. And so
We're going to look at that when we finish this. We're going to look at that. Okay? Yes, sir. No, I saw it, and I understand what you're saying. Okay? I'm sorry? Mike, you wanted to say something?
Chris, I'm afraid. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out. We had a lot of water, and the weather's bad. I wasn't really sure how many people were going to be here, but it's a wide variety of people, and I want to emphasize that because it's a wide area that this is taking place. And it's not just one spokesperson, it's several spokespersons all saying more or less the same thing independently. And they've been to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, some before I was council person. So this is something that's got to be resolved. mean, it's obvious that it's a problem that people are not going to let go of, and they shouldn't. Okay, so I'd like to thank them all for coming out tonight, and they did conduct. If you were here for the Medline, you know it can get pretty ugly. So, I want to commend you for sticking to the facts as you know them.
As vice chairman, I think I have control of the meeting. I knew Canulette was going to say that. He just doesn't like pressing the button that says Canulette. It's amazing what retirement will do for you, Chris. All of a sudden, you're here. Anyway, thank y'all for coming tonight. Any other council members with questions? Okay, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn.